The opinions, viewpoints, and advice shared in this podcast are solely those of the host, Dave McGlynn, and should not be interpreted as reflecting or endorsed by the Department of the Army or the Department of Defense Fire and Emergency Services.
All right. Welcome to another fire engineering podcast, The Training Officer. I'm your host, Dave McGlynn. Quick background for anybody that is new to the show. The show brings you people from all over the fire service, all walks of life, from the firefighter all the way up to the training officer, even to the fire chief. We've even interviewed people in law enforcement, people in our great military. We talk to you about different tips, tricks, nuggets, things that people have some suggestions on training. We try to tailor them to specific topics per month. And mostly it's just so that you're not alone in your problems, right? So this being September, September's theme is September is Suicide Prevention Month. But I also would like to say that it's a Mental Health Awareness Month, right? So Men's Mental Health Awareness is in June, but September to all encompass it. We're going to talk about that tonight. That's going to be tonight's theme. We're going to make it real, and we're going to talk about it, and we're going to discuss some different types of things that our guest dealt with, but then also maybe some suggestions that they might have on how we can make this more real, appreciate it more, and include it into to our training program. So tonight I'm joined by Brandon Corey. He wrote a powerful, very personal article for Firefighter Nation called The Invisible Scar. And then he shares his journey through one of the hardest experiences any firefighter can face, losing a brother in the line of duty. Brandon doesn't just talk about tactics, the tactics of that night, but about the mental and emotional toll it left behind, and why we need to start training for these things, and why, and the things that we can't see, but the things that we know that are there, the things that are stuck inside of us. I'm honored tonight that he was willing to take time to talk about this, because it's a recent thing that's happened to him. It's very raw. It's very real. And, you know, knowing him personally and having read the article, it's such a huge thing that he's willing to talk about this, because it's not somebody that's just fly by night trying to just come in there and use a buzzword. This is somebody that dealt with some real hardship. Somebody that understands the methodology of instruction and understands our thing, the fire service, and they want to try to make it better. So with that, Brandon, thank you so much for joining me tonight, brother. I really appreciate it. And I'm just excited to have you be vulnerable enough and ballsy enough to talk about this tonight.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Honored to be on your show, listen to it multiple times, great stuff on here, and very honored to be on here. And, like you talked about some training, on the mental health side, not the sexy side of the fire service, but something that needs to be talked about. Because to me, no matter how dialed in you are on the tactic side, if you don't have your mental health, your normal health dialed in, it doesn't matter how good you are at that stuff, because you're not going to be able to perform to your best ability if that side of stuff isn't dialed in also.
Right. No, I 100% agree. You and I have been fortunate to have intimate conversations about this, but, using the platform that we have, it's important that people talk about it, people appreciate it, people respect it. It's either downplayed that, and we'll dive in more into this, but it's just in my personal opinion, it's either downplayed by some of our people like it doesn't exist, or people have bastardized it because they've used it as like this segue for notoriety, and that's just always bothered me. So anyway, so just for my audience, for anybody that's listening, first time tuning in, whatever, let them get to know you, right? So tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, where you're from, and what got you into the fire service.
Mm-hmm. So I'm from Michigan, up in God's country, as I call it, in the Upper Peninsula. The usually forgotten part, as most people always ask me what part of Canada I'm from with my accent. But I work at Marquette City right on Lake Superior. Been there for almost 5 years now. Before that, I was on the volunteer side where I started in my hometown. I was there for 10 years, worked up the ranks from firefighter all the way to lieutenant. That was my rank after when I left to go full time. And then I'm still on the county rescue team, but I started that about 10 years ago now. Currently, I'm listed as their training officer. Don't run with them a whole lot too much now, just because with their full-time job and everything. But I still stay on as training officer, help them out. So they cover a lot of the technical rescue in our county, along with RIT. And that's the unit I was actually on the line of duty death I was involved in that we'll probably touch on a little bit coming up with some other stuff. But overall, been in the fire service for 15 years, coming up to about 16 and 2 months. But in reality, I've been in the fire service for 34 years. My dad's been in the fire service for, I think he's almost up to 45 years. It's either this year or next year. So I grew up into it. He was on the volunteer side in our hometown. So I've always been around it. One actually kind of cool thing that I like to talk about too is on my 18th birthday, he got sworn in as chief of the department. So that my birthday just fell on the city commission meeting that day. So we were having a little party at our house. He thought it was just a birthday party, but I kind of threw it in there and surprised it as a chief party also. I know it was my birthday, but it's a special thing to honor him, working so hard for so many years to get that chief's position. And in reality, looking back at it now, it was kind of cool too. I turned 18 and he became chief. Doesn't really happen a lot, in the different fire services of someone, your dad. A lot of people follow in their footsteps, but for them to actually hit that milestone in their career and a milestone in my life of reaching 18 was pretty cool. So been around it all my life. Wasn't actually coming out of high school, wasn't looking at going into the fire service. I was really into sports growing up. So was supposed to go play college basketball. Injuries happened. So took a different turn, but was still looking at, going to sports medicine world. Went to college, just wasn't for me. As most of us find out with being in the fire service, we're all undiagnosed with ADD and just can't sit in a classroom for that. So lasted about a semester trying to figure out what to do. Decided to throw my hat in the ring for just getting on the volunteer department. Still wasn't on my radar to go career at that point, but I was like, hey, my dad's done it for our community. I'll give it a try. And from day one, I was hooked. Never looked back after that, and just kept on going. In our area, we only have one full-time department. We have 17 in our county, with only one being full-time. Took a little bit with being a smaller department to be able to get in there, but finally eventually got in there. Been loving it ever since, and it's just been fun 16 years so far.
Amen. That's a cool story, man. I love that you secretly surprised your dad with a Chiefs party too on your birthday. That's pretty cool, man. Yeah. I like that. All right, so if anybody that's listening hasn't checked out the article, definitely go on Firefighter Nation and check out The Invisible Scar by Brandon Corey. But also there's another one that we're going to talk about tonight that I was able to review for you, which I appreciated. And I really like the take you had on it. So we're going to talk about some of that tonight. Like I said, this being September, it's what better time than to talk about this stuff. And while I appreciate you putting yourself out there, just what better of a person to have than someone like yourself. So talking about the article, right? You wrote about how we train hard for the physical skills of a Mayday, but we don't really train for the mental health and emotional aftermath. That's so true, because we do, like, it's constant, Mayday training and Lunar and all this stuff, but we don't talk. And we talk about RIT and And they're all great stuff, but we don't talk about the other side
Mm-hmm.
of what happens when that goes wrong. And I love that you touched on that, and maybe because you unfortunately got to experience it, right? So what
Mm-hmm.
do you think that kind of training could look like in the fire service if we were to try to use that, but then train more on the mental and the emotional aftermath piece?
Some of it starts still with our tactics side. Because again, we have to have that honed in. Because one thing that I talk about in the article too that I dealt with after is, did I do something wrong? Did we miss something? Did, we not do something? Could we done something better? And talking to a lot of people in our business, there was nothing that we could have done different in the time frame that we actually got bent out and everything. But I think that, if we don't have that dialed in, it's just gonna still affect the recovery because we're hard on ourselves. We're mostly all type A personality, so we're always going to want to do our best. So if we can come out of it and really dive deep into it and be like, yes, we did give our best, I think that will help in the long run. But coming after it too, one thing that kind of not really messed with me, but I noticed kind of did during it was, and I've changed it now when I go and teach in a lot of departments that I've gone to train with, or even our departments. Before this, with uh, down firefighter, pull them out of the structure or wherever. What's the first thing that we always did? Stood them up, high five, said good job, moved on to the next thing. Or if it was a mannequin, pulled the mannequin out, left them at the front door. Never really finished out that process of getting them, to that front yard, getting them out of gear, or working them into the EMS. Because that night that Ben passed, I actually ditched my gear and got in the back of the ambulance because I was the only paramedic on scene. Um, but subconsciously, since we've always trained like that before, of just getting them out, maybe doing a little bit of CPR, and then everyone standing up. When I actually got to Ben and realized he was pulseless, lifeless, I froze because it was a training scar. It was, why isn't he getting up? It wasn't long, but I did freeze. I'm not afraid to talk about it. It happened, but it was a training scar. So it starts with that stuff, being dialed in on that, making training as realistic as we can. Obviously, we can't go out and be like, hey, Dave, go, die on the training ground and let us bring us back. But how can we make it as realistic? Because then it starts training our minds that, this stuff could happen. And when it does, it's not going to be as much of a shock factor because it's going to be in our subconscious that this is what we just go and do. And then it'll help the process later on because, again, we've realized that we've done everything that we could.
Right.
But the training for after the fact, I wish I had a perfect answer, but I don't think we have that yet. We got to continue to work on it and look into different ways that worked. Because again, me and you could be at the same incident, see the same thing, do the same thing, but we're going to have two different reactions, mentally. But what are some stuff that we can do? And I think the biggest thing to start is hit this even harder in recruit school. Um, give people better tools to better react to traumatic events, different resources, you know, different things that have worked for different people, how to get back into a routine. That was my biggest thing that helped me start the process is get back into a routine that was healthy like I was before, getting back into the gym, getting out doing things that I enjoy doing, being outdoors, playing sports, getting back to stuff that we did that brought us joy before or even when we were younger. One thing that I'm sure you've seen in the fire service too is when we get into the fire service, we just all dive, head first into it and it kind of consumes our life. And when something tragic like this happens, we got to reset it and get back and start doing things that we enjoyed doing before. And even before a traumatic incident, we should start looking at our lives and doing more stuff that brings us more joy and excitement. Don't get me wrong, I love the job, as you know, and I know you do too. We're, going around teaching, doing it every day, all day, but we still have to find time to step away from it. And it's okay to step away from it, you know, especially after the incident. became super obsessive with it, just trying to get better and find stuff that I did wrong or get better. And until I really took a step back from that and got away from the fire service a little bit, actually helped my recovery at that time. So I think some of that stuff, and again, just better training on being better brothers and sisters. I think that is a big thing too, that a lot of people don't like to maybe talk about it, is because a lot of people like to gossip. So I might not want to say something to you because I know I've said it before and I've heard it from other people because, yeah, we might be cool face to face, but now you're turning around and telling something I felt like I told you in confidence, and now it's going around. So maybe being better brothers and sisters, that when someone comes and talks to you about something personal or that they're struggling with and everything, not going around and telling everyone like it's a middle school or high school. If you see something wrong, yes, go tell the right people, but don't turn it into a big gossip thing. Um, it, I think in turn, we're very prideful people. We don't want to look weak. It's okay to look weak when you're weak and you need help, but I think people struggle with saying stuff because they're so used to people just gossiping all the time. Like, I'm not going to say something and it go around the firehouse and it'll get skewed 3 different times. Because I know when we were all younger, we all played the telephone game. You say one thing and it gets all the way back around the circle, and it's not the same.
Yeah,
So
telephone,
I think starting with that of, yep. So starting it young, getting those tools to people, get, solid training, realistic, and just be better brothers and sisters, I think is a good
Right.
way to start on some of that training, and maybe diving more into the research and getting those people on board. I mean, we're doing great research with UL Firefighter Rescue Survey, the Firefighter Mayday Survey, get all that stuff for the tactics. Maybe we get someone on the Firefighter Mental Health Survey or something and start diving into some of this tactics on things that work and don't work, because we're a special breed. And we'll get more into that when we talk about the other article that you helped me work on a little bit, and everything is, just being okay to talk and do that stuff.
Yeah. No, I love everything you said. The reset piece was really important to me. The how do we get back? We don't train on that. And then obviously, it goes without saying, we suck at the brotherhood, sisterhood thing. We talk about it, but we suck at it.
Yep.
We rat each other out. We're the first ones to sit there and screenshot something on somebody's Facebook and text it to somebody. And, we suck at that. And that doesn't help. There's a whole side outside of this podcast tonight and your story, but there's a whole side to the mental health piece that's tied exclusively to bullshit like that. And I talked about it a while ago. I wrote about it a while ago, and it's just it's very unfortunate that we have some folks that they don't understand that, and they don't realize that they're actually hurting the fire service more than good by being jerk offs like that. So it's good that you mentioned that, because it's extremely important to be cognizant of that, but furthermore, it's so true. We suck at the brotherhood sisterhood thing, and when you're going through types of shit like that, and if you want to learn how to prepare for it better, you got to get good at home, and I mean in the firehouse, you guys gotta truly love each other and care about each other. Yeah, good stuff.
Yep. We're always not afraid to call us family or brothers or sisters, but when it comes down to it, when we are a family, we spend, depending on your schedule, every third day for us in the same house with them.
Right. Holidays, weekends. Yeah.
Yeah,
you're with them. Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah. We're with them more than our actual family, so treat them the same way. Mm-hmm.
100% is the truth. There's Christmases you spend half as many Christmases with your firefighter family than you do with your own family. People don't realize that. It's like, I don't know. Yeah, no, you're good.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, for you, that article is very raw, and good on you to use that as as an outlet, to help you in your growth, sense, right? And also good on you that you're trying to find better ways to talk about this stuff. So you shared some very raw feelings. I talked about guilt, embarrassment, even self-hate, that came after losing your brother in the line of duty. How important was it for you to finally open up and talk about those struggles instead of carrying them alone?
Huge. And the biggest story from it that I know we've talked about in our conversations about it before was um, one thing that I was really struggling with it. Didn't even happen at the scene that day. It was a couple weeks before. Um, so, like I said before, I was on our county rescue team. Wasn't full time fire at that time, so I was a paramedic with our local hospital, and we were at our hospital. We're the only neonatal care in the UP, so we would travel a lot, pick up kids, babies that needed to come to the NICU with the NICU team, and bring them back to Marquette. And Ben's mom was one of the respiratory therapists that would ride with us all the time. And it was about 2 weeks before we were on a NICU run with her. We were talking about some stuff. Uh, Her daughter at the time was in the fire academy. So we're kind of talking about that. And she looked at me and goes, as a mom, uh, kind of scares me now that I have my husband, my son, and my daughter all at the fire service, going to fires, fighting fires. It's nerve wracking for a mom. And I looked at her, I said, yeah, I can get that, Carla, but remember, I'm there as their RIT team, and I'll never let anything happen to them. 2 weeks later, I put foot in the mouth, and unfortunately, Ben died that night. Was really eating away at me. That was a very big of the embarrassment part, kind of self hate that I talked about in there, and was scared to talk to her about it. Because again, she just lost her son. I promised her that I would always bring her family home to her, and I didn't. And talking to one of my paramedic partners that actually had a minor degree in psychology, huge help through everything too, was talking to him. He's like, did you ever talk to Carla? No. He's like, well, we're going out there tomorrow. I'm like, no, I'm good. I don't need to. He's like, no, you need to go talk to her. So we went out there, had lunch with them, had a little sit down with them, and I explained that to her. And she looked at me and said, Brandon, I wish you would have said this earlier because, in all honesty, I don't remember that conversation and didn't before. She said, I don't remember you saying that. So please stop beating yourself up about that. Don't think you didn't bring them home to us because you did. I'm like, yeah, but not the way that I wanted to. She's like, yes, but you got him out there as quick as you could. He wasn't burnt up, didn't have injuries, and I was able to hug my son one last time and have a open casket at the funeral. And when we're talking about that, I could literally just feel the weight lifted on my off my shoulders and felt a calmness come over me after that. So being able to talk about this stuff, even if you're scared to, really does help. We hear it all the time, we got to talk about this, don't hold it within. I can tell you from experience, that is 100% the truth. We need to talk to it about it, what you're feeling. But also with that, make sure you're talking to the right people. Like we said before, don't talk to someone that's going to go spread it around, find those people. And when you're really struggling, you're going to find those people that are going to be there for you. We all have people that always say, oh, I'm here for your brother and everything. But in a true time of need, where are they? Nowhere to be found.
Right.
But you'll realize the ones that truly are. The ones that are actually hitting up your phone, giving you a call, giving you a text, just checking in on you without you having to reach out. Those are going to be the ones that you want to talk to, that are going to really be there for you, really listen. We're always going to have a big group of acquaintances, but we're only going to have a small group of friends and true friends. So talk with them, get that stuff off your chest and everything. A lot of times when you open up about something, they might open up about something too. It's a back and forth street sometimes. So
Yeah, I was just gonna
even
say
talk.
that sometimes we're clammed up, and all it takes is somebody that has some level of empathy, even if it's not for the exact same thing, to kind of let us release our guard and discuss it a little more, and it's just it's a very healing thing.
Mhm. Yep. So even if you're struggling, you can still help other people also.
Yeah, no, I don't even know how to respond because it's just one. I'll just say this: I thank you for sharing the story, but yeah, just
Hmm.
it's crazy. People don't realize, like, had you have not gotten that closure, that's a lot of weight. Like you said, like you had this like feeling of something, the weight coming off your shoulders, like just this kind of relief, not relief in the tragic situation. Like that's different. I'm
Hmm.
saying like it's just, I wasn't there to feel it, so I'm not going to take it from you because it's yours. I'm just people don't realize like the importance of closure. The brain is so funny, it's so tricky. And in our thing, it's even worse because we deal with all these things that happen during our careers, and then all that time away from family. And then, like you were talking earlier about, the broken brotherhood, broken sisterhood, and then something tragic happens, and it's like, you know, you, men carry these loads, especially men. I'm not taking away from our sisters, but just it's the truth. Men carry loads, and sometimes the easiest way for us to feel relief from the load is just somebody recognizing that we're carrying that load. Um,
Hmm.
and that's just it. It's extremely important, and just tying into a training thing. Like you said, you don't have the answer, and I don't have the answer either. But talking about this stuff, making it real, having this conversation, discussing um, stuff like that, how to rally around each other and create some level of comfort that people could talk to one another, um, so that people can have that purge, um, and face their demon, or face the thing that they're carrying, and I don't want to say it like negatively, just find a way to be at peace with things. It's
Hmm.
extremely important. I don't know how to train for it either, but I think at least talking about it is the first step. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Because that's just it. Is like, we don't talk about it, or if we do talk about it, we talk about it wrong, or we talk about it the wrong way. And that's what we're going to dive into here shortly. Is just the CISM thing on how it gets talked about. But
Hmm.
I'm just listening to you speak, and I'm just like, I can't imagine. It's your story. I can't imagine it, I'm happy for you that you were able to have that, because it is so important. You know what I mean? To have like
Hmm.
this. I don't want to say closure and like it's closed, but you know what I'm saying. I know you understand.
Yeah.
I don't know how to put it into
Hmm.
words for the audience because
Yeah.
it's not my
No.
story, but it's just that is that there's
Yeah.
that closure piece that's so extremely important. I'm sorry.
Hmm. Because I think that that's the one big thing too of the recovery is having that acceptance and closure. Is it hard to accept that we lost a brother, a son, you know, everything that encompassed a great firefighter, but even better person? Absolutely. It's a hard pill to swallow, but we have to accept it. Um, it's hard to say because, there's different religions and things out there. Some people believe in one thing, some people believe in a different, some people don't believe in everything. But the way that kind of helped me too is it doesn't matter what you believe or don't believe in. There's someone there's a higher level above us that is still pulling strings, and doesn't matter what you do and everything. Sometimes things just happen. I mean, look at it from the EMS side. We show up on scene, someone's totally fine, going to cardiac arrest, unexpected, right in front of us. We do stuff. Sometimes they come back, sometimes they don't. We get called for cardiac arrest, unknown downtime. Sometimes they come back, sometimes they don't. And we do the same thing on no matter what the call. And sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, even if they drop right in front of us. Unfortunately, it was their time. And that night, unfortunately, was Ben's time. Took me a while to get to that place and accept it, but we have to accept what has happened and what can we do to learn from that and get better from that. And it's going to take time. Uh, I heard this thing probably a couple weeks ago, and I wish I would have heard it a long time ago. Uh, but it's a great piece on the recovery. Is we have to be aggressively patient. Two words that don't go together really, but we have to be. We have to be patient with our recovery sometimes and different things. So it's not going to happen overnight. But a lot of times when people hear patience, they think of, oh, we're going to put our feet up in a recliner and wait for it to happen and just let it fall in our laps, which is not going to. Recovery is going to take work. You're going to have to wake up day in and day out, put in the grind. Sometimes you're going to have good days. Sometimes you're going to have bad days. And other times you're going to have great days, but it's going to take some time. So you still have to work at it every day, day in and day out, but be patient enough that it is going to take time. I love those two words together, something that I'm going to use a lot more now, but we all have to be aggressively patient with this stuff. It takes time, and that's part of the process too, is that healing. Um, just taking that time, looking back on it too, because I've heard a lot of times too of, oh, when you're recovering, don't remember that person, that you once were. No, remember what you were before it happened. We want to try to become that person again, but it's going to be a little bit different because we have this tragic thing that happened that's going to change us in a way. But don't forget about that person you were before, and don't forget about that person during the process when you are in your dark times. Because now once you do recover, you can look back and see where you were and see, wow, I came from way back there in this dark time, and look at the way that I've been slowly progressing and on my new me. And that will bring gratitude and satisfaction to yourself too of, yeah, I'm able to overcome all this stuff and still be this, good person, good firefighter, good father, son, brother, uncle, whatever it is, and just bring it all together and have that completeness to you.
Yeah, I'm with you, and it takes a level of discipline to have that patience. I'm with you. So for the firefighters listening now, who may silently be battling some of those same invisible scars, right? We don't know who they are, but they could be tuned in right now. What's one message or piece of advice that you'd want them to hear when they're listening to this right now?
Rock bottom is not the end. Rock bottom is your new building foundation. If you hit rock bottom, you've hit the bottom. That's hard. You're dealing with a lot of stuff, but you can't build a new house or anything without a good solid foundation. So that's where you're going to start this whole process. It's not the end, it's the new beginning. And when you're at that rock bottom, that's where you're going to really see your true friends, the people that are going to be there, the ones that you can lean on through this whole process of rebuilding the new house that you're going to live in now. So don't be afraid that if you hit that rock bottom that you're alone. You're not. There's going to be people out there that will help you. And even if that's reaching out to me some way, please do. Always willing to lend that helping hand or shoulder to help anyone out. I had a lot of people that I leaned on and I still lean on. Um, and it's never a never ending process. Recovery in how I feel it and how I deal with it, it's always an ongoing thing. And I know we've talked about that at a couple of different times. It's a daily thing. The recovery is going to be every day. You got to wake up, start it all over again. Have a good day, you wake up, have a bad day, get back into that different routine, whatever it is. Um, Never let a bad day lead into two bad days. Always
No,
look out that.
I like that you said that, because that's the truth. Like you're not going to sit here. You're not lying to anyone. Like, it's an ever going process, this recovery thing. You're not cured
Mhm.
of whatever demon that you're dealing with. You have an acceptance, and you have a level of tolerability that you can sit there and see how you're going to be able to handle what. But every day is a new day, and every day comes with a new struggle. Yeah, man, that's just that rock bottom thing, dude.
Mhm.
Like when you said that, I was just
Mhm.
like that's just, yeah, because, and I'm glad you're sharing it. And I'm glad that's why we have you on for, especially for this month, is because some dudes, some people, that's where they're at.
Mhm.
Even if they didn't deal with the level of tragedy that you dealt with, everybody, the brain is different. So everybody deals with tragedy or some setback differently. And it could be the most monumental thing to one person, and not as to another. But like you just said, like there are people who believe that they've hit their rock bottom. And,
Mhm.
and there are people that, they believe that one bad day is just going to be a continuation into the next. And it's that discipline. It's that, finding ways to deal with it, to cope with it, to have that patience, to talk to people, to create a circle of people that you're comfortable with. Yeah.
Mhm.
No,
Yeah,
that,
it's okay to be not okay. I know that's been thrown around a lot too. I've heard it even before this, but it truly is.
yeah.
And it's okay to be a macho man and need help or feel weak. It's a normal human nature. It's not ingrained in us as men, growing up, especially from our time. We were told, suck it up, rub some dirt on it, and get on to the next play and different things.
Right.
And another thing too, um, kind of jumping into the you know next article, but I think it fits in here good too, is we're trained from the beginning to hold our emotions in
Mm-hmm.
on scenes, because
Mm-hmm.
we're trained to show up in people's worst days, hold it together, and get the job done. And we're just ingrained in that. We do it day in, day out on, shift. How many calls, you're going on, you know, 10, 15, 20 times, how many of it is, and you're doing that nonstop. Now, how do you reset your brain now when you're not there to be, oh, it's okay to have emotions, let them out, you know, it's okay to cry. Sometimes we just need to let all that stuff out and feel better.
Mm.
Um, Not gonna lie, there's still days that I'm just driving and stuff hits me, and you start tearing up. It is what it is. It's better to let those out at the right time than continue to hold them in. The more you
Yeah.
hold it in, the more it just builds up, and you hit a point that there's no return, unfortunately.
It becomes misdirected frustration or animosity or
Hmm.
resentment. And, and the recipient, oftentimes isn't the person that's supposed to get what's being given to them.
No,
Yeah.
unfortunately, a lot of times it's the people at your house, your family, that are getting it, that obviously don't deserve that at all. They're the ones that are, they're your backbone, going to help you too through everything. But it gets built up, and you just project it on the other people.
Yeah.
So just don't be afraid to let those emotions show at the right time.
Yeah. So talking about that next piece, so you got a new article that's going to be coming out, and not everybody calls it CISM, but I know what that means.
Hmm.
So it's a peer support, for anybody that doesn't understand what the acronym stands for. it's not necessarily peer support, but they call it that. It's just
Mhm.
it's more of an outside third party support.
Yeah.
Peer would be within, but they claim to be peer support. But anyway, not knocking it, and the
Mhm.
article will speak for itself. But just
Mhm.
while we're talking about this, some of those programs exist, right? And that's great. At least they
Mhm.
have some. Some people don't even have them, but anyway, in the most recent article that hopefully should be hitting the street sometime soon in the near future. The title, at least for now, is going to be something along the lines of "Out with the Old, In with the New," and it's talking about just updating and modifying the CISM program. So you
Mhm.
talk about how in the fire service we constantly reevaluate our tactics on the fire ground, but we don't do the same for mental health.
Yep.
So why do you think we've been slow to change our approach there? And follow up, not to put you on a spot, or you haven't dealt with this. What are some suggestions you might have?
Mhm. So I think again, it's still that touchy subject of, it's being very prevalent now in the fire service, but still kind of that taboo of no one really wants to touch it. Maybe not a whole lot of research within the fire service is happening on that side. So I think that's kind of why we've always just done that. Because again, we still have people struggling just to talk about it, let alone change how we're looking at some stuff. Um, so for me, I think if we make it more personable, kitchen table, tailboard talk kind of stuff would be more appealing to the fire service. I know in my area, other people that I've talked to about this, talked to a decent amount of people, just seeing how they thought if my mindset was kind of the same, if it was something worth, diving into more. And all of them kind of had the same thing that a lot of these CISM debriefings feel very kind of pushed on us a little bit of, hey, this tragic thing happened, let's all go sit in a circle and talk about our feelings. And again, not dogging sism. Where they've started, great idea. We have it. I think it works very well for other entities. Like I talk about in the article, my wife's a nurse. She works in the cath lab. They had a older, I can't remember if it was a female, male, older patient come in for kind of a routine thing, ended up passing on their table. Doesn't happen very often. Had a CISM, got down, kind of talked about it. Works really well for them. Uh, Majority of them were females, which sitting in talking about stuff a little bit easier for females. Now you put a bunch of guys in a circle saying that, hey, you have to talk about your feelings. Usually doesn't go very well. Um, And I don't know how it is in other areas. It's getting better in our area where we are switching kind of more to peer support, but still have some of this happening. And even if they do, they try to get more peers depending on if it's fire, law, EMS. Um, but when I first started, and even the one that we had after Ben, there's people there that aren't even a part of the fire service. We had a couple from, different lines of works and everything. It's like, I'm not going to sit here and talk about how I feel or what happened on the incident to
Right.
people to conduct this debriefing that have no idea what the tactics are even on, but what we just did.
Exactly.
So if we can kind of bring it in again, more on that peer support. I think peer support is going to do wonders for the fire service because again, we're talking to trained peers to look at the same stuff that the CISMs will look into, but it's us, it's our family that we're talking to. So take those people, get them trained up in your departments, and if something does happen, just bring them around. We're going to be more comfortable with them, but have it just at the kitchen table or on the tailboard or whatever. Don't go into some other place or the training room and set up in a circle and kind of have that kumbaya moment. Just make it more realistic. As you know, we sit down at the kitchen table and we open up about anything. We'll tell stories of, the night out we had last night, whatever else is going on in the world and everything. So just start out with that. We don't even have to sit down and even start talking about the incident per se or anything. Just sit down and start chatting. We were around our brothers and sisters enough that we can tell if something's really bothering them, and have those people that are trained so they can pick up on those cues even more, and then pull them aside after and be like, hey, I kind of noticed this. Are you willing to go talk to someone more? Because another thing too with CISM debriefings, they're really big on having mental health professionals there, which is great. They do great work if you have, to me, if you have the right ones there. Um, Unfortunately, some mental health professionals aren't cut out to be fire service mental health professionals. We're, again, a different breed, and the stuff that we see and stuff is a little bit, nerve wracking for them, that some of them struggle. I saw it too that I made cry, and I wasn't even talking about the day Ben died. It was just other stuff that I've seen that didn't really bother me. It was just coming up in conversation. They couldn't believe that we do that day in and day out. Um, but when it comes to debriefings in the fire service, I don't think that they have to be there every time. Have those people that are trained that can see that and maybe get them to the right people. But if we are going to bring in mental health professionals or have them intertwined with the department, I think they need to come there before the incident happens. Like we've talked about, we're a family. We need to introduce these mental health professionals into our family. Have them come have lunch with us, do ride-alongs, get them, comfortable with the people. And I think it would just even be more beneficial and easier for us tough-nosed guys to open up to them.
Right.
We have one assigned to our department. He does all of our initial hire screenings. So our probies are seeing them from day one, getting introduced to them. The guy's great, very laid back, understands. He's come in for a couple lunches and everything. All of our probies that have come up in the last couple of years that we've had them really, they say it doesn't even seem like, psych eval. Just seems like they're sitting down talking with someone like me and you are doing right
Yeah,
now.
that's awesome. That's important.
Mm-hmm.
No, I
So then we
agree with you.
just tweak some stuff and look at it to how we operate day in, day out, and kind of turn that and do more of that peer, and get guys to understand that peer support isn't one-on-one. It can be, a group with one professional or a couple. But if we get
Right.
that peer support really intertwined into our fire departments, I think we'll make a huge impact.
Yeah, I agree. I don't, it's such a great concept in theory, the problem is just logistics and budgets with people and availability. But I'll tell you, like, this is not something to be messed with. Like, you and I had talked before just about that. And our thing is very unique. The first time that I see you, while maybe admirable, and I appreciate what the work that they do and the education and experience they had leading up to, the first time I see you shouldn't be post-tragedy. I want to know you. I
Mm-hmm.
want to talk to you. I want you to be comfortable with our people. I want you to know our people. And it also needs to be genuine, not like this check in the box bullshit where like they pop by the station and it's like, hey, like, so like everybody saw that I was here, right? Sign this form that I was here. Like, get the fuck out of here, bro. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I obviously it's easier said than done. I don't understand all the logistics of every department, but that said, you and I had talked about that before, and then you're just elaborating again. Just that's extremely important to have that kind of like commonality and camaraderie. The first time I'm talking to this person or understanding this person or meeting this person isn't post tragedy, but it's pre, because there's so much that they can do other than that, because once we get a comfort level for them, you could talk to them just about life shit. They could pop by the station and you're having some struggles just at home and you need to just be able to get it off your chest and that person's there. It's extremely important, while I'm always going to advocate that we should continue to staff to the levels we need to, and get the equipment and then pay for the training that we need to be proficient at our jobs. Those are priorities. I also think that it would be extremely proactive for communities to budget to try to have some mental health professional that can have that time where they can pop by the station kind of unannounced and make it real. And like, obviously, like the first part of it is going to be the dog sniffing butts thing. Like, like we're not just going to be like, yeah, bro, let's sit down and talk. We're going to be like, all right, man, like here's the coffee, there's the bathroom. Like, you want to see the fire truck? You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
But as time goes on, if they're genuine and they're not doing it to check in the box, like, do you realize how many lives we're going to save? How many marriages we'll save? How many guys are going to be able to retire with clarity just because we have a trained professional that understands, that took the time to understand us, because they don't teach that shit. Like Freud didn't touch much on firefighters or first responders, police and law enforcement and EMS and even the military. There's that joke. I don't know how true it is, but Freud said the Irish are impervious to psychoanalysis, and I don't know if it's true or not. It might just be a joke, but I would argue and say that if Freud was alive and he was to analyze our thing, he would very much say, hey, listen, like all the studying in the world that you can do, military and first responders are going to be extremely different types of cases than whatever it is that you're going to be educated for. There's nothing to compare to it. Everybody sees things differently, and we handle it and respond to it differently. And we're just wired differently because naturally we're problem solvers ourselves. So what fucks us up is when we have a problem and we don't know how to solve it ourselves. Because I think that's honestly, like, I'm just, as we're talking, like that just crossed my mind. Like, I'm just like, I think we bear stress worse than others, though we put on a good front, right? Because when it's stress for us, we're naturally wired that we're supposed to fix a problem. It's just our natural thing, right? And when we can't fix ourselves, it's like, fuck. You know what I mean? Like, we're like, come on. Like, and I think that's the stress of it more than anything, more than the trauma itself. Just that itself is like, Jesus, like I'm wired to be able to do this, and I can't do it because I don't know how to fix this. And I think that once you brought a professional in that, I don't want to say that they understand it, that they can relate to it, but they at least appreciate, like, these dudes are a little fucked up, it would be so much. It would just pay it for itself. There would be so much longer positive lives out of the fire service, out of first responders, period. But just like, and I'm not knocking the CISM program, but just like everybody sign here and, hey, everybody was at that fire. How do you feel? Like, well, how do you think I feel, bro? You know what I mean? And like you said yourself, like, nothing against that person, but like, you had the person crying when you're talking about the stuff. And like, I'm not trying to be inhumane. I feel for, whoever, I feel for that person that they cried. But at the same time, how does that help you? You know what I mean? Like, and that's like why you shared that, it's like there needs to be an investment into getting to know us and understanding us. And these programs that are out there, for the listener, I'll at least say this, like, with the utmost respect to the logistics, to the budget, to the finances piece of it, and to your business managers and directors and mayors and councilmen and all this crap, and your fire chief, we need to truly find ways to properly advocate to refining these peer support programs, that they're applicable, they make sense, and there's empathy there, that even if I don't see, that's why I never liked psychoanalysis, because I don't want you to sympathize with me, because maybe my pride, but like sometimes I oftentimes attribute, like when somebody sympathizes for me, they pity me. And when you pity me, you don't respect me. You think less of me. I don't want your sympathy. I want you to take how I feel and compare it to something that bothers you so that you know, like how like right now, I feel like I got punched in the gut. I want you to know how that feels. Then we can have a conversation. You don't have to have gone through the same shit as me, but I want you to know what it feels like to be hit in the gut.
I don't
You know
need
what I mean?
sympathy. I need understanding.
Right. You know, and I mean the utmost respect to these professionals out there because like they have a job too. You know, I'm not trying to knock what they do because what they do has value and purpose. It's just to understand us. Like I think that's where we're going wrong is we just floodgate, but you know, quacks. And it's like everybody sign here, and this person came in, and we talked to everybody, right? So like everybody's good now. It's like, no, that's not how it works. Like that's never how it works. You know,
No,
so
and the other thing is they always try to flood us right away. Like, oh, this tragic thing happened. Let's get everyone together now. It's like, no,
right.
back up a little bit. Because
It's
like
almost smothering, yeah.
it is. Because again, not a knock on them. They do great things and they have certain ways to do stuff and they have helped. I've seen it, work and help. But after a line of duty death, we're getting together like the 2 days or 3 days after it was. Most of us still didn't even process of what happened. We're
Yeah.
still in the shock. And now we're supposed to sit down, get in this circle and talk about what happened. Well, I'm still trying to figure that out. And not only that, now I'm walking into this big room and I felt like everyone's staring at me like, oh, there's the guy that let Ben die.
Like you did something
Like
wrong,
it
right?
was just, yeah. And then they had some people that were from his department that weren't even on scene come to this. And, it wasn't, they weren't doing anything bad, like saying I did anything wrong, but they weren't there and asking questions about stuff. And at the time, I'm like, why is this person even talking? They weren't there and like questioning me and like felt attacked at the time. And, I knew the people still know like that's not what they were doing. They were just trying to get answers too. But at that point is not where we're looking to get those answers. We're there to try to process some of the stuff and everything.
Right.
So just trying to keep it close to those people that, were there to help talk it through it. And
Right, at least in the early part of it, and like just
Mhm.
like you talk to the people you're supposed to talk to first, and you also don't, you don't put people around people where they're going to feel like, because even if that wasn't the case, it's natural for you to think like, well, these people are here to judge me. Just what a poor way to. I don't mean to mock it, but it's just the fact. Like it's just what a poor planning that was. Like you want to find out what's going on in Brandon's head. Don't stand him up in front of people where he's going to feel like his first thought is he's going to be being judged. Even if the people there weren't even judging you, that's your thought. I knew before you even said it. I'm like, you felt like you were going to be judged because like, why would you even think to do that? Not you. I'm saying that, these CISM people like, yeah, come on down. Like I'm all set.
Well, it's one of those things too that, I didn't want to go to it at that point. I'm like, I'm not ready to go sit in
Right.
front of these people and do all this stuff. But then higher up administration's like, no, you got to go. It's like, so I think that's another thing. Nothing against CISM, but our administration's like, you have to go to this stuff. It
It's
almost
a
feels like
forced
you're
thing.
going to get in
It becomes
trouble.
checking the
Yeah.
box. Like it's like, well, am I gonna be facing disciplinary if I don't feel like talking about this right now? Yeah, that's not proper.
Yep.
No, I'm sorry.
No.
I don't
So
get you jacked up with your own department. It's just that's just Dave McGlynn's opinion. Plus, there's a disclaimer before this goes on.
Yeah.
Now
Well, I mean,
let's
even other people that I talk to, feel the same way that it feels, pushed on them that, I have to go to this thing. Well, if I feel like I have to go to something that I don't want to, I'm not going to say what I really want to say. I'm just going to say again to whatever I need to say to check that box.
Yeah.
I'm not going to really open up and be truthful. I'm just going to say, yeah, this is what I saw. I'm feeling fine because I don't want to be here.
Right. We're kind of talking about this now, but there's a piece in that article. I was fortunate that I got to review it before. And so, for the listener, you're not going to see it. yet, but it'll be out. And it's really good. And it talks specifically about the CISM thing and the peer support thing and how we can refine it and retune it. And one of the things that you had talked about, and you and I talked on the phone also about this, and then you touched on it in the article, which I really like. I really like the idea of you making mental health support feel more like the tailboard or the kitchen table thing. We joke and say that's where we solve all the world's problems, right? But like as we're talking about this, like your experience with that initially was a bad experience, and there's merit to that, and people should listen because here you are, somebody that dealt with that, somebody that went through it, somebody that had firsthand in it, and you're trying to say like, hey, listen, like I think we could do better with the program. It wasn't as helpful for me, at least in the early stages of it, than it should have been, right? So I like that you said that you have these suggestions about like this tailboard or kitchen table talk instead of this forced debriefing, right? So in your suggestion, because obviously we don't have all the answers tonight, but what would it take for fire departments to start building that kind of culture and comfort level?
Leadership.
Great answer. Why is that?
Elaborate. You have to have the right people running the ship to change it. You can have all the people below trying to push change, but if you don't have the people that actually have the ability to push the change and change it in the city or the township or wherever, it doesn't matter how many people you got saying. If you got people at the top stopping it, it's never going to go anywhere. We need to have the leaders that can understand this and see that and help push for the change. Because in reality, like we talked about, if we can get this change and better help our brothers and sisters figure out whatever they're going through, in turn, it's going to save city townships money from different things, but it's also going to better serve our community as we're going to have better physically, mentally fit firefighters to save and protect our community. Like if you're sitting, on a board or the commission or a citizen, like you want the Navy SEALs, Delta Force of the fire department showing up to your whatever emergency it is. But if we're not dialed in on the mental health side or physical health side, we're not going to be able to do it to our best of ability because that's always going to be on our mind, or we're not going to be, as sharp as we are. So if we don't have that leadership to help change that and make sure we're dialed in from our tactics all the way to our health, it's not going to change.
Right. Tactically, you could be the best in the world, but mentally you're just checked out. It is what it is. Paul Combs, he does a great job with all those illustrations he has. And he's got that one where he's got many, every one of them that he does are amazing. But specifically the mental health ones, there's one that I really connect with. And it's a dude driving the engine, and his front shield says off-duty issues. And and then he breaks down like just some examples there. And it's just that what you just said is exactly it. Like I'm not taking away from tactics. We train so hard on being salty and sexy and tactics, and we've screwed up, and I'm not knocking safety or NFPA. We've screwed up that we've over safetied things, that we made it unpopular to be safe. But we forgot about this thing that we're talking about tonight, this mental health piece, is that you could be tactically the best ever. But if mentally you're just off, you're off. Like, some of the best athletes get in a slump. There's hitters who are the greatest hitters ever who are having something going on, that they're in a slump and they can't hit, they can't connect. They're swinging for the fences. Then they're overthinking it because they're swinging too hard. And I do it just as like a youth league coach. Like, there's young kids. The worst thing to do, and I've done it to my own son, the worst thing to do, and I hear these parents on the sideline, and they get, they're in their kid's head, and they're like, level your swing out. Don't swing at that. And now the kid's overthinking it. You know what I mean? And it's like this kid could be probably the next friggin' Babe Ruth. But right now he's checked out. And instead of us focusing on like how we can try to help them get through that mental piece of it, we make it worse because we just keep tacking more and more pressure onto it. And like you're right, is we're so focused on the tactical abilities that we're not focused enough on whether or not people are in the right frame of mind. You can be the best firefighter in the world, but if you're off in the brain, you're off, and them tactics are not going to be, they're not going to be executed right. I don't give a shit who you are. They're not going to be executed.
Yeah, no, agree. And you made that sports analogy, and this just popped in my head too. Some of the work that they're doing with the mental health on the sports side, might be something that we on the fire side look into. I've actually been thinking about that recently, but you making that sports analogy just made a pop in my head. It's been a number of years now, but Kevin Love, Minnesota Timberwolves, was on the Cavs with LeBron James when they were making those championship runs and everything. He stepped away from a little bit because the mental health just got too much. He was in a slump, struggling and everything, and stepped away and found out, look at the pressure that they're on. You have people all over social media and different things, oh, you missed this shot or did this, and, why didn't you take that shot, whatever. And it just piles up, and you miss a shot and you start thinking, oh, this is going to happen or that's going to happen. And you start underperforming, just take the sports out of it, put it in the fire service, and it correlates a lot. So maybe start looking at some of that stuff that they're doing with the mental health on the sports side, and how can we kind of do that, in the fire service too.
Yeah, I'm all day long. I mean, I'll tie sports in our thing all the time anyway, because I love sports and I love the fire service. But it is, I mean, it's the truth. It's just, we do, and I'm okay with it. Like, listen, I love being salty, but we focus so much on that stuff, and we never focus enough on that mental piece. And it's the same in sports. Like, you could have the best athlete in the world, and if that dude's in a slump, he's not in a physical slump. He's in a mental slump. You know what I mean? And it's like, we need to look at that the same way. We need to approach that the same way with the fire service. Is like, I say to the guys, like, if you're off coming into work because you got some mental shit, it's almost the same as if you're drunk coming into work. I am not going to get you to execute perfectly coherently. It's just a fact. In my position now, I'm not trying to knock my boss. I like the dude a lot, but he's a horrible micromanager, and he doesn't really understand our thing at all. So it's like, it's very stressful to deal with this guy and his just absurd execution timeframes. So I find myself missing other things that I have to do as a fire chief for the day, because I'm like so stressed focusing on this other thing that like this condescending email comes out, and it's not even his way. Like, he's honestly a nice guy. He just doesn't have to talk, and it's like, I'll get an email and it's like, I need this right now. And I'm like, oh my God, and I'm like, I miss a meeting that I'm supposed to go to because I'm sitting here like stressing on this other thing that I needed to get for the guy. And then you talk to him, he's like, oh no, man, I don't need that till Friday. I'm like, oh, I wish you would have said that in freaking email. You ruined my whole day,
right.
And then people don't realize, like, like, you can psychologically just destroy someone's performance because they're checked out mentally, yeah, we do. We have to focus more on that. I agree with you. We have to do better at bringing it to the kitchen table, making it the same as we would talk about tactics. It just creates that level of comfort that isn't there because we're so afraid to talk about it right now, for multiple reasons. We discussed it already, but just all right. So, every one of my shows, I ask this same question, and I always give the same quick synopsis. I've been told, oh, well, I had somebody tell me one time it's arrogant to ask that question. It's not arrogant. It's purposeful. The question works. Every guest member that I've had has always answered the question with the utmost humility. and it has a purpose. The name of the show is The Training Officer. Everything we do in training, you as an instructor, Brandon, you understand this, comes with objectives. And we wouldn't be doing what we're doing and offering the suggestions that we're offering and training firefighters and instructing firefighters and trying to make our thing better than we found it, right? If we didn't have some objective to work toward some goal. So that's what I mean when I say this. Now, the reality is, and I always say this, is you don't get to write your own legacy. That is the 100% truth. However, you will certainly influence what is written about you in your legacy. So I ask you, as you have a lot more time to go, but what would you want your legacy to be? What type of legacy would you like to leave behind, either in life or in our thing in the fire service?
The easy part is, left it better than we found it. I think that's just how we all, as instructors, want to leave it. But truthfully, the legacy I want to leave behind is the Ben Lauren legacy. We lost him way too early. Great guy, great firefighter, one of the best people you could be around. Always put a smile on your face. Say this all the time. Hopefully when it's my time to hang it up in the firefighter realm, instructor realm, that everyone remembers the name Ben Lauren and no one truly remembers the name Brandon Corey. If I could truly make that happen in my time, I would love that. That'd be the greatest thing for me, that, Ben Lauren's legacy lives on throughout, the time. If everyone could remember Ben Lauren and no one remembered Brandon Corey, that would be my goal legacy, to be honest.
I love that and I appreciate it, but I'm going to tell you, people should remember you too, because you're out there doing great stuff and selflessly you're putting yourself out there in it's an awkward thing for you to talk about. And I know it is, because we've talked physically and over the phone, and I'm even watching you while we're doing this. It's just your awkward positioning and all that. And I'm not overanalyzing you. I love you, but it's the truth. You're putting yourself out there and it's not comfortable. So people should absolutely remember Ben's name. Amen. And they should remember your name as the guy that, in the face of tragedy and personal self-questioning, you recognize that we can do better as a fire service and as a people. So people should remember your name, and what you're doing is great stuff. And as hard and as awkward and as uncomfortable as it is for you to talk about this shit, it's important. So thanks for taking the time to do it on this outlet, which is a lot, and the stuff that you've been writing about. So keep doing what you're doing, because it matters and there's a purpose and it's needed. And not getting religious or biblical, but it's just that God put you into that situation for a reason, because the rest of us needed to know how to do better. So you're doing good. And I appreciate it on behalf of the fire service.
Well, I appreciate you having me on and being able to talk about it. Not going to lie, it is still, I've done it for a while now, but it's still uncomfortable. But it's also soothing in a way too, of still be able to talk about it and get it out. And that's why I want to do it. And like we talked about before in our conversations, that's why I wrote the article. We can always look up the different tactics of what was done that day or whatever day and everything. But when I was looking, there was nothing of the aftermath. And that's why I wanted to write about it and get it out, so people can start learning and training on this stuff. It's needed. And if I can help in any way and continue to help, with this stuff and share my story more and do different things, absolutely. Because the more people I can help and share with my story and Ben's story is going to be, very satisfactory to me and help in my recovery also.
Yeah. Amen. All right. Final piece from you. Anything you got going on? You want people to how they could reach out to you? Anything coming up? You can even plug Great Lakes if you want. I don't care. Whatever floor is yours, man. Whatever you want to leave us with, other than this beautiful information that you've given us. So thank you for that. But how people can get in touch with you, or what you got coming up, or why people should reach out or do whatever.
Yeah, if anyone wants to reach out and have any more questions or comments, or even just want to chat or having a hard time, please don't be afraid to reach out. You can find me on Facebook. It's probably the easiest way. Search Brandon Corey. I'll pop up. Reach out to me there. Just shoot me a message, whatever. Glad to talk to anyone about anything. Be the fire service, any struggles. Like we talked about, sports, love sports. But that'll probably be the easiest way to get a hold of me. And we'll start from there. Just put a little plug in there, though, if I don't answer right away. As you said, I do help run Great Lakes Hot and Build Your Culture, and we have a Facebook on there and have Messenger. So sometimes I forget to switch to my personal one and miss some stuff here and there. But I do try to keep up with that stuff. So please reach out, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. But yeah, like you said, Great Lakes Hot coming up next June. Looking forward to it. Stuff should be coming out in the next couple weeks of some speaker announcements. One may be the host of this podcast is coming back for a second year in a row.
Yeah, I got to get
we're
you guys
looking forward
my
to.
own test thing too. I keep forgetting to do
that. But no, we are excited to have you back. If anyone's hasn't heard about it, it's in Michigan. We do have our Facebook, but yeah, Dave's coming back for a second year in a row. He crushed it last year. Everyone loved it. Opened it up. Everyone super hyped about it. Great way to start the conference. So gotta have you coming back for another year, give another great class, and not only that, just gives us another opportunity to hang out and
right. Just to hang
is
the most important thing. I like the class, but I enjoyed hanging with you guys. I'll give a quick plug. You get an opportunity to go out there, get out there, even if you're not from Michigan, because it's awesome. And Brandon and Sean and the whole cadre with Build Your Culture. You guys got to figure it out, man. It's great. It was a great time. I had a blast. You guys you put on a whole good training show and conference, but also you guys make it very intimate. So good on you guys. It was a great time.
Yes, we try to bring the whole family aspect to it and build on that. Right. That's something that's very important to me and Sean. I'm not going to give obviously too much out because I want those to come through our announcements and everything, but we have a couple of things this year that really tie the whole mental and physical health to the tactics side. Again, that's a very big thing for us, trying to tie all that stuff together. So at our conference, we got some stuff that's coming out that really ties some of this together and is going to help out, I think, the fire service.
Yeah, no, awesome. Yeah, check out Brandon Corey, check out Build Your Culture, check out Great Lakes Hot. Brandon, thank you, brother. I appreciate your time, man. This is it's a deep topic, but it was great to have you. And this being September, it was very relevant to cover this stuff. So I appreciate it, man. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your brotherhood. And just keep doing what you're doing, man. We need it. Thank you.
Yeah, no, appreciate you having me on again. It was a great time sharing the story, and hopefully this will resonate with people and possibly help some people out in the future.
Amen. All right. Well, until next month, October, where I think we're going to be talking about apparatus placement and training on apparatus, because nothing worse when the engine takes the front of the fire of the fire, or a damn cop car is parked right in front of the Alpha side, and there's no room for the truck. But we'll talk more about that in October. So this is Dave McGlynn with Fire Engineering Podcast, the training officer. Thank you all. Take care and be safe.